Okay, people, so this is my reaction to Trump being elected president. They did it on our brother show. If you watch that or listen to it, you can't watch it because it's a podcast. If you listen to that, Couldn't Be Models. But I'm going to take the Nerdynomicon and I'm going to express how I feel. Clearly, I was a Hillary supporter. I was a Clinton supporter. I felt that she was the better choice for this country, but Trump has won the Electoral College. And unlike them, I'm not going to necessarily rage as much. I believe in the democratic process, and as much as I don't, I'm not thrilled with it, I respect that that's what happened. I do think it's funny that in 2012, Trump himself said the Electoral College makes no sense, and since he's since benefited from it, but, that happens. But I think instead of, freaking out or anything, what I'm going to say is I am going to try to be hopeful. As I've said several times on this show, I have a baby and I want the world to still be there for him. I want him to graduate from, high school and I want him to get a job. I don't want him to be drafted into some child army, because we live in some weird dystopia. So I'm going to choose to believe that it'll be okay. I am nervous that the president, the Senate, and the House are all majority Republican. I think that that's going to overturn a lot of stuff, but I'm going to say what I hope first is I really do hope it could all work out. I'd love Trump to prove me wrong. I think a lot of us would. I would love Trump to prove me wrong and be a great president and do a lot of great things for this country because I'd love to be wrong. Like, that's the thing is I'd love to be wrong and be like, looks like we were wrong. Trump is amazing. That'd be great. I think that'd be great. But, I'm not going to lie, I'm very nervous and I'm very sad when I hear about the one thing we got to stop doing. I'm sorry, I'm saying this to all white people. As a white person myself, you have to stop with the racist nonsense. That has to stop. Just over here in Buffalo alone, where I live, there were 2 cases of, racism, really bad racism. There was a black baby doll hung in an elevator in a college, a liberal college that I actually went to. So that's terrifying. And there was a dugout that was vandalized with the words, "Make America White Again." You can't do that shit. You got to cut that shit out because that is not cool. Like, I am sickened that white power groups are celebrating. I am sickened that, people think that this is okay. I mean, several black people that I know personally have been talking about how they're getting stuff yelled at them. Like, people suddenly think it's okay to yell racist epithets at black people. Like, what? That's not okay. That's messed up. And that's what makes me really pissed off about this election is I feel like it was a license to be really racist. And I know that, that's not cool, okay? This is and I'm sorry, this is a country of immigrants. I know a lot of people say, well, it's a nation of settlers. They were lucky to be settled. Actually, I have a coworker who said those exact words. Oh, well, we were going to settle anyways. The Native Americans failed. No, they didn't. This is a nation of immigrants. We are damn lucky to be here. And if anyone wants to keep something white, they can go back to Europe, where there are white people, because that's where they're from. But guess what? Europeans don't want you, so... No one wants you. So get out of this country if you're going to say stuff like, oh, keep America white. Why don't you leave and go to countries that are actually white? And let the rest of us, like normal people, stay in America. How about that? And I'm getting angry and I don't want to do that. I'm sorry. I feel like the best way to make this work is if we all work together. We need to work together as, people. Like, we need to make the best of it. And the way we do that, and I'm going to say this, I know a lot of people don't even know that they exist, but there are other elections besides the presidential election. There are going to be midterm elections. There are going to be local government elections. And that's where your voice needs to be heard. Think about it this way. When you vote for the president, you're voting against, millions and millions of people. But when you vote in your local election, you might be only voting with 400 people. So your voice really does count because if it's only 400 people voting for somebody, you have a really good shot of your, ideas being heard. So run for local offices, or support people that you think are good for local offices. That's how we take back the House. That's how we take back the Senate. That's how we take back local stuff is, you might not be able to affect change on the presidential level, but you can really affect change on the local level. And that's where we need to put our focus. And the other thing is Trump is my president and I'm an American. I love this country. So I will always support my president, whether, I agree with it or not, but he is the president. And I think there's not much we can do about it now. So it's one of those things where you just have to accept it. And the things that you got to do though, is what's the best word I can put this? The worst thing you can do is become complacent or to just roll over. If you see things that you don't agree with, if Trump does start enacting policies or his supporters do start doing things that you don't support, stand up for it. If you see a Muslim neighbor of yours being hazed or hurt or something, or, you know, you support them. You go up and you say, stop it. Like, you know, it's our voice. I will not allow my Muslim and my Middle Eastern neighbors, especially the Middle Eastern neighbors who are like Hindu or are like Christian, or people seem to think that like other religions exist in the Middle East. Like you could be, you know, from a Middle Eastern country and be Jewish. Like you can be from a Middle Eastern country and be Hindu. You can be from a Middle Eastern country and be Buddhist, or, you know, there's other religions besides just Muslims, and yet people who are not Muslim, or just because they have dark skin, are being targeted unfairly. And the thing is, you shouldn't be targeting anybody. We have religious freedom. It's not just freedom for, you know, Christian people, which I find so interesting that there's actually people are trying to do freedom of religion acts, you know, because people are, oh, they're making Christians, you know, approve of gay marriage and blah, 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 blah. That, it can't go one way. It's not freedom of Christianity. It's freedom of all religions. And you don't have to agree with anything, but to say all Muslims are terrorists is disgusting. Oklahoma City was not bombed by a terrorist, okay? 90% of the shootings, like the Aurora shooting, that was not a black guy or an Asian guy or an Indian guy. That was a white guy. Most serial killers are white. So maybe let's not profile, because I don't think you'll like what comes back on you. Because, you know, there's a lot of local terrorists who are white. Christians can be terrorists too. In fact, when I was in school, a boy I went to schools with, his dad was an OBGYN who did perform abortions, and he was sniped in front of his family by a pro-lifer. He was shot in the head in front of his fucking family by a fucking pro-lifer. So I don't want to hear this nonsense that, you know, it's Middle Easterners that are going to ruin this country, because this country was being ruined by white guys way before. So, and I know I sound angry, and I am angry, because I'm so sick and tired of this. I am a white person. I'm proud to be white, but you're making me embarrassed to be white. I want to pretend I'm not white, because I don't agree with this, like, oh, make America white again. Screw you. You want to go to a white country? Move to fucking Switzerland. They're very white in Switzerland, so move to fucking Switzerland. But guess what? They don't fucking want you in their country, you disgusting scumbag. So why don't you go and move somewhere else? You know what? Antarctica is very white. There's no one fucking there. Why don't you go there? I'm so sick of this make America white shit. I'm so sick of this white people are better than everybody. I'm so sick of it, because it's nonsense. Nobody is better than anybody, and the only way this country is going to work is if we work together. And I shouldn't be angry. This is 2016, and I should not be getting angry about the fact that women might have our rights stripped from us. I refuse to get pregnant again until this presidency is over. Not because I'm trying to be a bitch or anything like that, but because I'm afraid of having a daughter who's only going to be valued for if she could make babies and how pretty she is. You know, that is fucked up. That is so fucked up, and it shouldn't be that way, but I refuse. And, you know, I have family members who voted for Trump who I can't even look at right now because I'm so disgusted by them. Like, it's not even just that. Like, even Robbie's family, he has family members on both sides, pro-Trump supporters and pro-Hillary supporters, who can't talk to each other anymore because they're so angry. And it shouldn't be like this. I have a son. How am I supposed to instill good values in him when there are literally 11-year-olds saying build the wall? There are people vandalizing other people's houses. There are people saying, like, woohoo, we're going to go back to the 1950s. The other thing is, this is going out to my Irish brethren. I'm Irish. You do realize that after, minorities go, the next people to go are Irish. Irish people were treated terribly in this country for a very, very, very long time. And yet you guys want to go back to the 1950s? Good luck, because it sucked for the Irish in the 1950s. So good luck to you dumbasses. Donald Trump's wife has been here a lot shorter of a time than some people that are Muslims who have been here for like 3 or 4 generations. But yet she can stay because she's the right color? That's stupid. And she was a communist, guys. The future first lady grew up a communist, and yet we're all cool with it. That's fucked up. But okay, that's cool. Let's deal with that. I don't know what to say. I'm on several forums because of my writing and stuff like that, and there are actual minorities in this country who are terrified, and they cry, and they're really scared, and it's like, what do I teach my son? I don't want my son to grow up in a world where it's segregated. I don't want my son to drink from a water fountain that says whites only, because that's fucked up. I don't want my son to think it's perfectly okay to treat women like they're, objects. And the thing is, yeah, me and Robbie can do the best we can and try to instill good values in him because I love him. But if he sees it, all of his friends are doing it, and society tells him it's completely okay, why wouldn't he? And that's the problem, is I don't want my son to be the next Stanford rapist and everyone be like, oh, it's cool. He's white, so it's okay. He's a white guy, so it's totally cool. No, it's not totally cool. It's fucked up. It's really fucked up. And we need to be better than this. We are Americans. That's the thing that pisses me off. America doesn't need to be made great again. America is a great country. This is a beautiful country with beautiful, beautiful people. And we gotta work together. We have to work together. We have to accept everyone, and we have to treat others as we want to be treated. It's like the first rule of the Bible, the Christian Bible that everyone seems to be in love with in this damn country, and I live by it, is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It's from the Bible. Jesus said it. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And, turn the other cheek, which was a big thing. And, or the story about the Good Samaritan, which I know is in the story of the Good Samaritan, where everyone else walked past the guy except for the Samaritan. And he's the only one who helped, It's like if we gotta just be better than we are. And I know I'm just ranting now, and it just seems like I'm not making any sense because I'm not. But we need to be better, I hope it works out. I really, really do. I hope that Trump turns out to be a great president. And if there's any good side, because I will find the upside for the Trump supporters out there, I am glad that maybe the status quo is going to be shook a little bit. Maybe politicians should stop worrying so much about getting elected and start learning about how to actually govern, which is their jobs. I kind of feel like it's that episode of 30 Rock where they talk about how Amnesty International is actually just a candle company. It's kind of what I feel like is going on with politics. It's just they're just trying to get elected. Their job is to get elected. It's not actually to work. So maybe, this was a wake-up call. Maybe it was also a wake-up call that we need to stop being so divided as a country, because the more divided we are, the more, radicals can take over, and that's not cool. And the thing is, though, and I have to say something, a lot of things that are really important to me, like gay marriage and, Roe versus Wade, which is, the right to choose for a woman, they don't seem important. I know if you're a straight, white, 50-year-old, you're like, well, why should I care about that? Who cares? I'm never going to have an abortion. But the thing you have to understand is once the government starts telling us what we can and cannot do with our bodies, it's a very slippery slope. And I know there's a lot of people out there who are like, oh, it's killing babies. Okay, fine. You don't have to be pro-abortion. You're right. You don't have to be pro-choice. I'm not saying you do. But the thing you have to understand is it's about having autonomy over our own bodies. So, okay, women aren't allowed to choose. What's next? They can forcibly sterilize mentally handicapped. They can forcibly sterilize prisoners. They can forcibly sterilize people that they don't agree with. And what's to say, okay, well, we've now sterilized them. What's to say, okay, well, only certain people are allowed to breed. Only certain people are allowed to have babies. Only certain people are allowed to do this. Only certain people are going to be given health care because the rest of us can just die. Only certain people are allowed to do these things. It's a really slippery slope. And before you say, oh, that'll never happen, it did happen. It happened in Germany. It happened under the Nazi regime. Okay? They started out with little things, and then all of a sudden they were forcibly sterilizing the mentally handicapped, and they were forcibly sterilizing Jews, and they were forcibly sterilizing people they didn't agree with. Black people were getting forcibly sterilized. It's actually not unheard of. It's happened in this country. And that's the thing. And you could also say, oh, that'll never happen here. It did happen here. We had internment camps during World War II. We rounded up Japanese people and we put them in concentration camps. Now, they weren't as bad as German concentration camps, but we still did it. It is not unheard of. There is precedent. And if you know anything about the way the United States works, a lot of our government is based on precedents, not presidents, precedents. So it's not unheard of. There were rules. People don't seem to understand. When you make it us versus them, and that's one thing I've noticed so much during this election, it was us versus them, us versus them. When you make it us versus them, saying stuff like, I don't know, they don't deserve to be here, blah, 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 blah. Why would anyone want to work with you if you're not willing to work with them? It cannot be us versus them. It has to be all of us together, or, it's just pointless. And the world doesn't work. Isolationism doesn't work anymore. We have to work together. There's none of this separate but equal. In fact, according to Plessy versus Ferguson, or is it the Brown versus Board of Education? I'm sorry, I can't remember. I think it's Brown versus Board of Education. Separate but equal is never really equal. So, and I feel like we have to work together. We have to. And also this calling saying that you want to lynch black professors who are trying to teach ethnic, what's the word? Ethnic diversity. Yeah, there's 4 white guys in Texas who have been handing out flyers to certain people at this college because there's a black professor who's trying to show ethnic diversity. They want to lynch him. They want to lynch him. It is 2016 and a bunch of white guys are threatening to lynch a black man. What the fuck are you talking about? There's a bunch of white people putting blackface on and taking pictures in front of the Union, or not the Union, yeah, the Confederate flag. What? There's people saying they're going to murder people over black or safe spaces. They're going to put people in prison for the terrorist Black Lives Matter movement. Are you fucking joking me? Wake up, America. We may have more guns, but there's more minorities. If there was a race war, white people would go down so fucking fast. So fast. And I don't want there to be a race war because I don't have a problem with race. I like everybody. In fact, white people have been the meanest to me. And I'm white. White people are meaner to me than anyone else. Stop. Stop being ridiculous. Just stop. This is not 1930. This is 2016. There is absolutely no reason people should still be saying shit. I'm not saying you don't have to be racist, because I understand that some natural prejudice is just, there's nothing we can do about it. It's evolutionary. But that doesn't mean you have to give into it. We are evolved creatures. You can have reasoning. I mean, my God. And the thing is, everyone in the world is laughing. Hey, Trump supporters, I'm letting you know, no one is cheering for us but Russia. Fucking Russia. We were in a Cold War with them until 1992. It's fucking Russia. We don't want Russia. Russia is a nonsense country. It's a nonsense country. They literally have a drug that they inject into their vein that make them into crocodile people. It is so addictive and deadly that the second you take it, you are literally going to die. It literally rots your flesh off, but they're stuck with it. It's called crocodile. It's a nonsense country. They don't even have traffic laws because they don't agree with them. It's a nonsense country. We don't want Putin as our ally. He's a nonsense person. Nonsense. You know who we want as our ally? England. Canada. Those are nice countries. Nice countries where normal people live. Not freaking Bond villains. Not meant to, steal from Key and Peele, but seriously, the man is a Bond villain. And I'm sorry, Russian people. I'm sure you're lovely. I'm sure you're lovely, but you are living in a nonsense country. You are nonsense people. For all those people that think that Trump is some magical savior, I hope you're right, but if he's not, the second he done fuck up, and I think he will. I personally think he will. I hope to God you can look yourself in the eye. And I'm also going to speak out to the people who did third-party votes or just didn't vote at all. I know to you it was probably like a cool stand you took, but now you're actually stuck with Trump. That's the thing. I understand what you were trying to do. You probably didn't think it would matter, and you were taking a stand against the man. But that's the thing, is it did matter. Votes really do matter. And the fact that people were like, nah, I don't feel like voting, or I don't like Hillary because of the stupid email. Screw you. Screw you. I mean, you suck. I don't know. I hope it works out. I have hope. It doesn't sound like it, but this is more me ranting about my anger, because I haven't been allowed to be angry because I've been trying to be really it'll all work out. It's all good because I have a baby and I have to be hopeful, but I'm not hopeful. If I'm going to be honest with you guys, this is fucked up. This is messed up. How did this happen? There are already people. It has only been 2 days and there are already people writing racist and hateful things, and they're allowed to do it now. And they think because of our president, people are like, oh yeah, our man Trump, he said it's okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. It's not okay to do that kind of stuff. And I don't understand how you were raised to think it's okay to write, make America white again, or kill black people. What? On the opposite side, though, and I'm going to say this, it's not okay to say you hate white people, or it's okay to kill white people either. That's messed up, too. And I will always say that. And that's something I've noticed, too, has been happening. I'm not just going to pick on my white people. I'm also going to pick on other people. I've also seen an increase of, killing white people. Let's murder white people. It's white people's fault. Don't do that either. Because once you make it, oh, white people are the enemy, well, then white people are going to be like, well, then you're the enemy, too. Just stop making each other the enemy. We're all the same. Yes, we have different life experiences, but this is America. It's not that different for a guy in Cleveland as a guy in Tampa. It's America. You have different levels of how good your pizza is, and that's it. It's the only difference between New York City and Alabama is how good the pizza is. It's way better in America, in New York City. I mean, we're all Americans. I mean, people act like you don't understand my struggle. Like, you grew up in Detroit. You didn't grow up on freaking Mars. I understand your struggle. I'm not an idiot. But good Lord. This is America. Like, no one's struggle is that unique. Also, and this is another thing, we have so many fucking problems in this country that need to be fixed that no one's even addressing, like the fact that we have a huge sex trafficking problem and there's actual slaves still in this country that no one seems to care about. But that's kind of neither here nor there, and I'm ranting at this point. But the point of the matter is we're all Americans. Americans are tough as hell. We will make it through. We just have to work together, and we have to not allow it. If you see a bunch of people picking on a Mexican person and calling them a rapist or a drug addict, speak up. That's the other thing I think we have a problem with in this country is we're either huge assholes who think everyone gives a fuck about what we think, aka me, or we don't want to get in trouble. We don't want to get involved. We don't want to get involved. Here's the thing. You have to get involved. Because if you don't stand up for something you see as wrong, then no one is going to stand up for you. That's the problem. If you're not willing to stand up for something you believe in, then no one is going to stand for you. It's one of those things where there are two types of evil people in the world. People that do evil things and people who see evil things happening and don't do anything about them. You are just as culpable if you don't help. If you see people being mean or hateful or discriminatory against Black people, Asian people, Muslims, Mexicans. The other thing is only people from Mexico are Mexicans. Just because you see a dark-skinned person, they could be Argentinian, they could be Brazilian, they could be Chilean, they could be Puerto Rican. That's another thing. I've seen a lot of Hispanic people getting yelled at, being called Mexican and stuff, and they're like, I'm freaking Puerto Rican. Puerto Ricans are Americans, dumbass. Stupid people with their stupid faces. Also, and I'm just throwing this out there, people say fuck Allah and stuff like that. You do realize Allah is just the Muslim word for God, right? So you're basically saying fuck God. The same God you pray to, you Christian moron. Here's a little quick, a quick little lesson for people that I'm going to teach you, so you need to learn this. Judaism, Catholicism, and Islam all start from the same basic religion. It's the religion of Abraham. We all have the same big God. Where we break off is the prophets, aka Jesus and Muhammad. So when you say fuck Allah, you're saying fuck God. And I'm sure when you die and go up to heaven, you try to justify yourself I thought I was saying fuck Muhammad. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the people, whoever's up in heaven, isn't going to be like, yeah, that's not better. That's not better. That's still worse. You're still going to go to hell. Don't say that. That's terrible. That's a terrible thing to say. You shouldn't say it anyways, even if it was. Don't say that. Who raised you? Who raised you to think it's okay to say hate speech? That's terrible, and you should be slapped. And if I ever see you, I'm going to slap you. But outside of that, so that's my first lesson. My second lesson is you cannot be a socialist, fascist, communist. They are literally three conflicting ideologies. Let me put this into perspective. Hitler was a fascist, okay? Stalin was a communist. They didn't like each other because they had conflicting ideologies. In fact, Hitler put communists and socialists into concentration camps because their ideology was different from his fascist ideals. Stalin killed fascists and socialists because their ideologies conflicted with frickin' communism. I'm sorry, if I hear that one more time, oh, you're a fascist communist. Really? That's impossible. That's like being a communist capitalist. It's impossible, you dumbass. If you don't know what the word means, don't say it, because you just sound stupid. And that's my emotional rant. I don't know where I was going with this. The point of the matter is, stop being mean. And I know I'm a hypocrite because I've been calling people stupid, but I'm angry. I'm really, really angry. I'm angry. I'm angry that Hillary won. Hillary won the popular vote. She won. She should be our fucking president, and she's not. And so, to America, I say, here, I believe we can get through it. I believe we can do it. I believe we can survive. Because we have to. Because there is no other option. That's the thing. There is no other option. We have to survive. To me, war, civil war, violence, nuking the codes and stuff is not an option. There has to be a world because I don't want my son to die at 4 or 5 years old. I want my son to live and grow to be old. And so there is no other option. And the way we're going to enact change is we're going to work together. We're going to vote in the next few elections that are coming up, such as the midterm elections and the local government elections, and we're going to show each other kindness and compassion, because that's the thing. Everyone talks about how this is a Christian nation. Well, the first thing about Christianity is to show compassion for all people. So if you're not doing that one thing you're supposed to do as a Christian, which is to show compassion, then you can't call yourself a Christian, and you should just stop. The first thing we have to do is to treat others as we would like to be treated. And that should be something you were taught as a baby. That is the one thing all religions share, is to treat others as you would like to be treated. And we are Americans, and we should live by that. And the thing is, I'm not saying that we should apologize for things. You can't change what happened. But the thing is, I cannot change what happened in 1887. I can't make up for the fact that Native Americans were put on reservations, or that black people were slaves, or that, Irish people and Chinese people were forced to build railroads and then killed, and Japanese people were put in internment camps, and women have been raped and murdered and treated as second-class citizens, and black people weren't allowed to use the same water fountains, and people have had to fight. You can't make up for it. You can't. There's nothing you can do. You can't go until I build my time machine, which I am working on. I can't fix it. But what I can do is I can learn from those mistakes, and I cannot let the world repeat them. And that is what we should do as Americans. We should learn from the atrocities that we have committed, all of us, and we should not do them again. And the fact that we have not learned, the fact that we are going back to that, is the worst thing that I think could happen in this country, because you can't fix what happened, but you can learn from it. And the fact that we have not learned in 300 years, in a million years, in millions and millions of years, we have not learned how to treat each other as people, is our greatest failing. And this is why Trump has become our president, is because we have not learned that the simple rule that we teach children, to treat others as you would like to be treated. And that makes me want to cry. That makes me want to cry so much, because that is the one lesson we should have learned. And that is what this election has taught me, is that we have not learned one simple lesson. And so I implore anyone who is listening to this now, if you've made it through, please treat others as you would like to be treated, and do the right thing, even when the wrong thing would be a lot easier. And, God bless America. And I hope it works out, and I love this country, and I will never turn my back on this country, because I love being an American, but we have to be better than we are. And that's all I have to say about it. So if you made it through, I know it was weird. I got really passionate. I'm a really passionate person, but that is what it is. So thank you, and good night. I'm going to close the book on this.